President Trump promised the largest mass deportation effort in the country's history. And as the Homeland Security Department works to deport more people, immigrants with legal status or no criminal history are also being detained and deported. We talked with three people affected by the changes: a Canadian who tried to renew her visa, the husband of a Peruvian immigrant who's being detained in Louisiana, and a graduate student currently being targeted for deportation. Here's what they told us.
My name is Jasmine Mooney, and I am from Canada.
My name is Mamadou Tal. I'm from the UK and the Gambia, and I am a PhD candidate in the Department of Africana Studies at Cornell.
Bradley Bartel. I live in central Wisconsin. Sylvia Munoz, she was detained February 15th, roughly 1 p.m. or so. We were coming back from our honeymoon in Puerto Rico. The agents at the airport in San Juan were asking everybody if they were American citizens or not. That's when they pulled her to the side, starting asking questions like, hey, this is my wife of American citizen, and, do you have this form on you? Do you have this form on you? And no, we didn't.
I was detained on March 3rd. I was in detention for a total of 12 days before they released me. Everything in that place is meant to break you. From being put in cells that are absolutely freezing cold with no blankets. The first 48 hours I slept on the mat on concrete with no blankets, no pillows. They gave me this aluminum foil thing that you wrap around your body like a dead body.
First, we filed injunction against the Trump administration. Then, law enforcement agencies are seen at my residence. Then my counsel received an email that I am to surrender to ICE custody, and then my visa is revoked.
They gave us a ICE lookup number to look her up in the system, and she didn't even turn up in the system for like a week, so I didn't know where she was, didn't have any way to contact her, nothing, didn't know anything. So that part was pretty terrible.
One, they break you down when you are in there. Two, they scare you. They try and scare you. No one wants to stand up for them. People are scared to talk about this because they think they're going to be banned for life or that they're never going to be able to travel. And everything is a scare tactic. They do not want this getting out.
What we're seeing now is a worrying trend, first and foremost, of people being essentially abducted and kidnapped throughout the country. Young scholars, graduate students, graduates are being abducted and kidnapped and taken to unknown locations. I've not been convicted of a crime, alleged of any crime, or arrested. I've only expressed my what should be First Amendment protected activity.
Especially with no criminal history and having come here being documented, I believe that kind of thing should be forgiven as it has in the past. Historically, people that have overstayed their visa, that kind of thing has been forgiven by the courts. One person asked me if she were to be deported, what would I do? And I'd seriously be considering becoming a Peruvian citizen and just leaving America.
I'm not going to let it jade me because I love America still. I love my friends there. I just am still extremely confused about what is actually happening and these processes, and it does not have to be this way. There has to be a better system.
I feel hunted and persecuted, and it seems like the president, the executive, has taken on these law enforcement agencies as his own personal police. What Trump administration is doing via the executive orders and by these actions is sending a clear message. If you are in this country and you are in a precarious visa situation, you can be deported. Not for any crime, not for any action that's illegal, but purely based on what you say and whether that is critical of the U.S. foreign policy or the state of Israel.
Laura Barón-Lopez has been following their stories and the Trump administration's efforts to restrict legal immigration and joins us now. So, Laura, first, our thanks to you and the team for bringing us those stories. It was incredible. So those three people that you spoke with, where are they now?
Yeah, great work to our producers there as well. And so Mamadou is, his location is unknown because he is trying to avoid ICE detention. Jasmine Mooney is back in Canada facing a 5-year ban to the United States. And Bradley Bartel is essentially waiting for his wife's day in court. He voted for President Trump and said that despite all of this, he does not regret that vote.
This week, the Trump administration also stepped up their efforts to strip some students of legal status. They claim that some of these people are sympathetic to terrorist groups like Hamas. And of course, there's that case of Mahmoud Khalil. There was a hearing today. What's the latest?
There was a hearing, and we should remind our viewers that Mahmoud Khalil is a green card holder, Columbia student, and a pro-Palestinian activist. So that hearing today was about jurisdiction. Jeff, the administration wants the jurisdiction to be in Louisiana, where Khalil is currently being held, and it's a more favorable court for the Trump administration. His lawyers want the case to be in New Jersey, and they said that the administration is trying to delay tactics. Khalil's wife was present in the courtroom today, and she's pregnant and due to give birth next month. I spoke to Khalil's lawyer, Baher Azmi, who said that it's a ticking clock to get Khalil out, that Khalil is anxious because he's worried about missing the birth of his child. And they said that the longer that Khalil is in detention, they're worried that it'll have a chilling effect on other immigrants and their political speech.
And there's the Turkish national, Rumeysa Öztürk. She was arrested in Massachusetts this past week. She's also being detained, so far as we know, in Louisiana. What more can you tell us about her case?
That's right. There was shocking video that surfaced this week, and she's a PhD student at Tufts University here on a student visa. She was arrested near her apartment by federal agents, and she can be heard screaming in the video. Now, the government moved her to that Louisiana detention center, despite the fact that a judge ordered them not to move her out of state without giving notice. And while overseas, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was asked about these arrests, and he said that he has revoked more than 300 student visas, and he's revoking them daily.
Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses.
Rubio is revoking these visas under an obscure immigration provision that says that if he decides that a person is having an adverse foreign policy effect, that he can take away their visa or green card holder. Now we should say that Khalil and Öztürk have not been charged with any crime.
I know you've been talking to immigration lawyers about all of this. What are they telling you?
So a longtime immigration lawyer that I spoke to said that they believe that the end goal here is to essentially scare enough legal immigrants to self-deport, to drive up those deportation numbers that the president wants. Now, in cases like Öztürk's, the Tufts student who was arrested in the street, some immigration lawyers say that Trey Poppet and I talked to said that federal agents have to produce a warrant when they're attempting to arrest you, that the person being arrested doesn't necessarily have to answer any questions, but they're advised not to resist arrest. Now, earlier, I also spoke to Jennifer Babai. She is the legal services director with Los Americas, and I began by asking her what she's been hearing from families, especially parents that are fearful that they could be detained and separated from their children.
What we're advising these individuals is to prepare legal documents so that there is a legal custodian who can come in and take care of their children in the short term should they be detained. That's rightfully one of the scariest scenarios to think about, and it's our job to get folks sort of ready to contemplate what will happen if that occurs. The questions I also get are, is it safe for us to come to your office? Is it safe for me to report a crime to the police? Is it safe for my children to go to school? Can I still go to church? If I go to church and I don't have my ID on me, can I be arrested? The community is afraid and also at the same time trying to understand how to be law-abiding.
If an immigrant is stopped by ICE, what rights do they have?
So our Fourth and Fifth Amendments enshrined in the Constitution protect everyone who's in U.S. territory. And so part of Las Americas' work and the work of our partners is walking folks through those kinds of scenarios on how do you determine if you are under arrest, and what are your rights and privileges depending on where you are. The safest and the place that you're most protected is always when you are at home or somewhere that's a private premises with a closed door. If an officer shows up at your door, you are allowed to ask to see a warrant. And if there is a judicial warrant, then at that point we walk folks through the fact that they are required under law to open the door and to allow for an inspection.
If someone is adjusting their immigration status, are you advising that they not leave the U.S. at this time?
In general, we are receiving that question by a multitude of clients. People are very nervous, even once they have adjusted status. I have folks who have been a lawful permanent resident for more than 5 years, and they have the same question. Can I leave? Can I visit my family in Mexico? Can I go on vacation with my children? In each scenario, we walk folks through, these are your rights. And the rights, of course, of a lawful permanent resident is that you can travel within limitations and within a certain timeline. But we also have to share with folks the patterns we're seeing. There are many individuals that have been reported in the news who are green card holders who have been detained because of exercising their First Amendment rights. And it's my job as an attorney to advise folks of the risks. But at the end of the day, we don't make those decisions for them. We inform folks, and then it's up to them to weigh the risks, weigh the benefits, and make that decision for themselves.
Jennifer Babai of Las Americas, thank you for your time.
Thank you.